So I went out and I took some observations on an insect that I was able to find, and I wrote them down here to give you an example. So if you look closely, you can see some of them written there. And in the first box on the appearance, I wrote, what I found was red with some black spots on its back. It was also smaller than my fingernail, so it was really quite tiny. So I used my fingernail to measure, and it was smaller than even my pinky fingernail. It had 2 antennae coming out of the top of its head, and it also had wings. So as I stood by and observed it for a little while longer, I noticed that the red on what was on its back, the red part, it looked like it was a fairly hard outer covering shell. And I noticed that that was actually the wings. So that was the wing cover going over the top of its back, and it was red with black spots on the wings, which was pretty interesting. The habitat where I found this was on the leaf of a tulip. So it was on a green leaf. There were grass and trees nearby. Not a lot of water very close. So it rains a lot here. So I would think that this insect could get its water from the rainwater, but there wasn't a lot of water nearby, and there was some shade. So it definitely had places it could go for shade during the really hot sunny weather. Some other things that I noticed was there were many of this same insect right around close to it. So there were quite a few in a pretty small area. And there were about 3 legs per side. It was hard to see exactly how many legs it had because it was so small and moved around fairly quickly when I got close. But I think there were about 3 legs per side. And there were also some large white dots around the eyes on my insect. Some quite large white dots around the eyes. And those were the observations that I wrote down. So maybe some of you have an idea of what type of insect I found just by the way I described it. But I have also uploaded some other things for you guys to look at if you want to maybe do some extra digging on the insect that you found. So here is a big brochure that helps you identify different insects. And there is a lot of pictures. And there's one picture in here that's pretty similar to what I found. And that's this one right there. So it says 7-spot lady beetle. Now, just like plants, all different animals and plants have a scientific name as well as a common name. So this common name on this particular picture is a 7-spot lady beetle, but the scientific name is the Coccinella septempunctata. So Coccinella septempunctata is probably my best shot at trying to say that scientific name. And you'll remember that the scientific name is unique to this specific insect all over the world, whereas the common name, there may be slightly different variations of animals that have the same common name, but they really aren't the same animal, but they have the same name in different parts of the world. So in order to make sure there's a way to tell every single animal and insect and plant apart, scientists have scientific names that are a little bit more descriptive and a little bit better classified to make sure that you can tell those animals apart in all different parts of the world. So let's learn a little bit more about this lady beetle. This brochure here has a little description of them, and it says, the many kinds of lady beetles are all predators of other insects. So lady beetles eat bugs. The 7-spot was brought over from Europe to control aphid populations and is now common in gardens. So aphids, if you know anything about gardening, or maybe you're family member's garden. Aphids aren't very good to have in gardens. They aren't very good for the plants, and they can cause a lot of damage. So in fall, large numbers of these lady beetles often gather in sheltered places for the winter. Bright colors warn predators that many lady beetles taste awful. So that's a little bit of information on the lady beetle. And if lady beetles like aphids, then maybe there were some aphids that were living on the tulip plant where I found my beetle. So I also have this book here, and it's called Insects of the Pacific Northwest. And it has a whole ton of different insects that you can identify and learn more about in this book. So I thought maybe we could take a little bit of a look in here as well. So this book, and I took a picture of this page and uploaded it for you. This book divides insects up into orders. So there's a section on beetles, a section on flies, different bugs. What else is there? Wasps, ants, and bees, butterflies, and moths. There's dragonflies, snake flies, grasshoppers, crickets, and katydids, just like the story. And there's stoneflies. So there's a different section for all of these different parts. And I looked up what I think I found, and it has a section on ladybird beetles. So there is a whole little write-up on ladybird beetles in here, and then there are a whole bunch of different pictures of different types of ladybird beetles that exist. So I thought maybe this write-up has a little bit of information that might be interesting for us to kind of look at while we have this book open. And the ladybird beetle is a type of, or a family of beetles that are often called ladybugs. So you've probably heard the term ladybugs before. There are 57 genera and 475 species in the United States and Canada. So there are a whole slew of different types of ladybugs out there. Just like there are Dalmatian dogs and German Shepherd dogs and poodle dogs. Those are all different types of dogs. There are a whole lot of different types of, there's a whole lot of different types of ladybugs as well. What else? So there's some interesting background on the ladybug. Human societies have long regarded ladybird beetles as a good type of bug. So these beetles have been used in controlling different types of pests to help plants grow. So it gets rid of some of the other types of bugs that eat plants and don't allow them to grow very well. And they're also thought to have supernatural powers that range from curing illnesses such as measles and colic, or even a toothache. So at some point, and some people have mashed up these little bugs and put them on their teeth to help ease some of the pain and cure the infections in toothaches. Pretty interesting, hey? And these supernatural powers were often celebrated in different rhymes. So here's a rhyme that it gives us as an example. So let's read it just to see what it says. This lady fly I take from off the grass, whose spotted back might scarlet red surpass. Fly, ladybird, north, south, or east, or west. Fly where the man is found that I love best. He leaves my hand, see to the west he's flown, to call my true love from the faithful town. So that's a little bit interesting to learn about ladybugs. That's why I really like some of these types of books, and I like to read because I can learn lots of different things about a lot of different insects and plants and animals and just stories and history and so many things you can learn from books. That's why it's so important to learn how to read and to have a love for reading and learning different things. So thanks for learning with me. But if you want to take a look at some of the attachments, maybe you will find a picture of the insect that you found, and you can look up a little bit more information on it. Thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your day.